of our great nation, where the strength of our communities is built upon the foundation of strong and loving families, an urgent crisis is unfolding. Child Protective Services, CPS, an institution designed to safeguard our most vulnerable, has in many cases betrayed its noble mission. Too often, families are torn apart not by neglect or abuse, but by systemic failures and corruption. We can no longer stand idly by as these injustices continue. We are here to give a voice to those who have been isolated, to shine a light on the corruption, and to rally our fellow citizens in this critical fight for justice. Every day, countless families are caught in a web of bureaucracy and abuse of power, their lives disrupted and their bonds shattered. Children, who should be nurtured and protected, are instead placed in situations that can be just as, if not more, harmful than the circumstances from which they were taken. Parents, often bewildered and powerless, face insurmountable odds as they fight to reunite with their children. This is not the America we believe in. We cannot allow these injustices to persist. Our mission is to educate, to inform, and to inspire action. We promise to bring you daily updates on CPS, exposing the truth and fighting for reform. We must remember that the future of our nation depends on the strength and unity of our families. By standing together, we can hold CPS accountable and ensure that it fulfills its true purpose, protecting children and preserving families. This is a fight we must not and will not lose. We are committed to saving our families and securing a brighter future for all. The road ahead is challenging, but with your support, we can make a difference. Together, we will bring hope to those who have lost it and ensure that justice prevails. Let us unite with unwavering resolve and a sense of patriotic duty to safeguard the integrity of our families and the future of our nation.
Good evening, everyone. You are watching Turn the Page with Kim Page. I am your host, Kim Page. Tonight, we have a parent from Alabama. She had 2 children removed by Child Protective Services in Alabama. Alabama Child Protective Services is referred to as DHR, Department of Human Resources. She was able to get her children back after a 4-year fight. One of her children was actually removed at birth from the hospital. So I'm going to have Tiffany brought on. Everyone want to welcome Tiffany to the show. Hey, Tiffany, how are you tonight?
Hi.
Tiffany, can you hear me? All right, I think we might have an issue with... I can hear you. Let's see what we can... Vinny, do we know if this is on our end or if this is on Tiffany's end? Oh, okay. I think Tiffany may be trying to go out and come back in. So we'll give her just a second. Tiffany's children, one of them was the first child she had removed from her was 4 years old. While she was dealing with that CPS case, her infant was taken from the hospital. There you go. Tiffany, can you hear me now? Okay, now I can't hear you.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep, I can't hear you. There we go.
You
There
can
we
hear
go. I can hear you
Okay.
now. I think maybe there's a little bit of a delay. There.
Okay.
All right. Okay, Tiffany. So I see you got you're in the bathroom with Little Bit, looks like.
Yeah, we're getting ready to get out of here.
All right. All right. So I told our viewers just a little bit about your case, that your children were removed and you were successfully able to get them back. So Tiffany, tell me what happened with your situation.
So I gave my oldest daughter to my mom and dad while I moved to do Job Corps at the state, and I gave my oldest daughter to my mom and dad. So I couldn't take her with me, so I could try to better my education. So in the process of doing that, I guess my mom and dad went down, and you try to get like food stamps or assistance for the child, and that's how DHR got involved with my oldest daughter. Okay, so a couple of years later, I end up having my son, and when I had him, DHR, it was an incident that happened one time, and he was left in the car while I ran and got gas and came back out. Well, at that time, no police was made, no DHR was made or nothing. But for some reason, when I got pregnant, they took my child. And they said that they have grounds to take it due to a incident where they said I was neglected my son. And I said, well, if that was the case, then then why wasn't, D Sharp involved or police or anything like that? And they just specifically said that we don't have to be involved, that you can get a case just because of someone feel like you're an unfit mother. And that's how all this started with D Sharp.
So CPS ended up accusing you of leaving your 4-year-old in the car,
Mm-hmm.
and they opened a case on you for him. Is that a him or a
Right.
her?
It was him.
Him. Okay. So look, two little boys. So they opened a case on your 4-year-old, and while you had the case on your 4-year-old, you became pregnant with your baby, and they removed that baby from the hospital because of the open case with the 4-year-old.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So when you went to court, that's when you finally found out that the reason that they took the older child is because you had allegedly left the child in the car while you paid for gas.
Right.
Did you ever figure out who made this call to make that statement?
To this day, I still do not know. As many times I went to court and tried to get information, nothing. I still don't know.
So, what kind of things did CPS ask you to do in order to have your children returned?
Um, well, they couldn't ask me to do a job because I already had one. They couldn't ask me for stable housing. Already had that. So they was just asking for parenting, counseling. I had to do a psych, like a psych evaluation thing with a psych person. They tried to see if I was crazy or mentally had something going on with me mentally. What else they had me doing? I had snapped on one of my social workers, so then they said that I need anger management. So I had to take anger management. Had to take coping skills because I had my grandmother died during the whole process. So they said I need coping and grief classes. Like it was like they just kept adding stuff to me. Like every time I got to court and I was thinking that okay, my case is about to end. Oh, you're on everything. She needs this, everything she needs that, and they just kept adding more things. But I would never stop. I kept on going. Every time they told me to do something, I did it. Drug screening. Never did drugs a day in my life. I did all the drug screenings. Had to pay for them. It was just a lot.
So, when you went to court, there were never any accusations of you having anger issues or being on drugs or having mental issues, but they made you go ahead and do those
It
services anyway.
Well, the social worker said was the one that's telling me that I had these. When I had snapped on her one time about my visitation because the foster parent had Bible study that they was taking the kids to, and my visitations on Wednesday, and I just snapped. I just got so frustrated. So when I went to court, my social worker said, I think Miss Davis have anger issues that she needs to deal with before getting her son. And so it's like every time they thought of something, and it was nobody on the outside with the allegations. It was always DHR saying these allegations.
And so they made you do drug testing. You said they made you pay for the drug testing.
I paid $30 every time my color came up. They put me on this color code. And it was at the family courthouse. Every time that green came up, I had to pay $30 for testing because I had a job.
So because you had a job, they illegally made you pay for services that they were forcing upon you.
Yes, you could do
Did
cash or money
did,
order.
did they ever attempt to try to get child support from you?
Tim, they got it for the foster parents. As long as these y'all had my baby in foster care, both babies, I had to pay, and it came directly out my check. They garnished my check, and I paid $215 for my oldest one, and I paid $327 for him. This went on for 2.5 years. Yes, I paid child support. Even when they
You
was
paid.
out of foster care, it was still getting garnished out my check for like 4 months. Now they did reinstate me a check. They cut me a check after that for the 4 months they was out of foster care. They gave me that money back, but my check was still getting garnished. And that's when I was like, "Hey, this is not right. I got them now, and I'm still paying child support. I have the proof."
So they get say they reimbursed you your they gave you the money back for the 4 months, but they still charged you for child support while your children were in care.
Yes, yes, because I had a job. They pay, and they don't. You don't pay it. They take it out your check. It got
Hmm.
garnished.
So, as you know, that I had a case in Alabama as well. They came after me for child support. They were
Mhm.
unsuccessful in getting it. The law says that they're not allowed to receive federal funding and child support. And because of that, I was able to keep them from getting child support from me. A lot of parents are not aware of this fact. And if you actually fight it in child support court and explain that they're getting federal funding, Title 4D funding, the judge is supposed to deny their request for you to have child support.
I wish I would have known that because I paid for 2.5 years.
Well, you actually have the ability to go back and sue them for reimbursement of that child support. And as a matter of fact, what I would actually suggest is because that Title 4D funding comes out of the Social Security Fund, what I would suggest
Mhm.
you do is you send DHR a 1099-C. What that is it's a tax document saying that they got income from you that was not taxed. Then you're going to also contact the Social Security Administration and let them know that they received child support from you. You show them of it and let them know that they were also getting Title 4D funding from your for your children. They can't do that. They're not allowed to do both. But a lot of
Okay.
parents are not aware of that, and that's not just an Alabama thing. That's a federal thing.
Okay.
So what they were trying to do is double dip on you, and because of your having a lack of knowledge, let me ask you this: your children's father,
Mhm.
did they go after the children's father in any way?
They did. So he was the one that had a drug problem. Like he had marijuana in his system. They made him go to drug classes too. He had to go through a whole bunch of classes though because he actually had marijuana and Xanax in his system. So yeah, they went after him, and then he had a criminal background. Like he had priors that he was finished with, but the fact that he had priors of drug possession, they went through a lot to the fact that they told me that he had to get out the home if I wanted my kids back, and he didn't have a
So,
sex charge or anything.
um, is did they go after him for child support as well?
No, they did not go after him for child support. They did
So they
not.
only
It
went
was
after
just
you
me.
for child support.
They went after me because I
Wow.
was the one they said for the clients. I had a lawyer for the case, which I really feel like those lawyers sometimes be working with the HR because it was a court appointed attorney. But anyway, she was like, I advise you to get your boyfriend removed, your baby father removed, because he was only the father of the youngest, not the oldest. She said, if you want your kids back, you need to tell him to be removed from the home just so you can get your kids back. So he moved in with his mom so I can get my kids back because she told me that that was the only reason why DHR is holding up on you because you have him and he have a criminal background.
What was his criminal background?
Drug possession. It was drug possession and resisting arrest. But it was years way before he even had kids. He already did
So,
his
so
time.
these were misdemeanor charges or felony charges?
One was a felony and one was a misdemeanor. The resisting arrest was a misdemeanor, but the possession charge was a felony.
So, and was he convicted of both of them?
He was. He was.
Did he end up serving any time in jail?
No, he just did probation. It was just probation.
So he's an unfit father because when he was a young man, when he was stupid, he made a stupid mistake, and so now he
Well,
can't be a daddy.
they said that, and the fact that he was on child support for his daughter that was living in California, and he was on back child support, like he wasn't paying because he wasn't seeing him. So they was like, and the fact that he's not even paying child support for his daughter in California, he was unfit. Yeah.
Wow, wow. Okay, so when your children were taken, did you have any family members that attempted to get your
Yes,
children
my
from
mom,
being
my
placed
mom,
in foster care?
I did. My mom and dad. My mom is a retired school teacher, and my mom and my dad's retired from the Navy, and they both went up and they tried. They said that my mom. Listen to this. That, and I got the proof on the paper. If y'all ever need me to submit my paperwork, they said that the fact that my mom is on blood pressure pills and that she's a diabetic, that her health condition is hindering her from taking care of a newborn baby. Because at the time my son was newborn. And they said that they fear that she might not, because she take medication, that she might not be able to care for the newborn.
Blood pressure medication and diabetes. Do you know how many people that are 20, 30 years old have diabetes? My best friend has three children, all of them under 16 years old. They have diabetes. They're all type 1 diabetics. Does that mean that they're not fit to have their own children?
They said, Your Honor, we just feel
That's
like
that's
Miss Davis,
ridiculous.
the grandmother, will not be able to properly care for the kids due to her health condition. That's what they told my mom. After
Wow.
after they made my mom go to these foster care classes, because my baby was in foster care and they teach them how to transition. They made her go to those transitioning classes. My mom completed all the classes, only for them to tell her due to her health condition.
Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't high blood pressure a something that runs in African American
It does.
bloodlines?
It does.
So that's something that a lot of African Americans deal with every day, and they still successfully raise their
Yeah.
children. What was the reason that your father wasn't
He
considered
has
for
an
placement?
amplitude leg that when he was in the military, so his one of his legs got amputated, and so due to that. But he walks around just fine and run after his grandchildren just fine. But they just said that due to their health conditions, they don't see that they're fit, that they're in a loving home right now with the foster parents, surrounded with a lot of love and a lot of kids and a lot of people that are healthy and able to care for my babies.
So I've got a friend of mine that back in 2015, I believe it was, he was in an accident at work and his right leg was amputated just above the knee. The job that he worked was running heavy machinery. You know, the machines that you see out there building the
Mm-hmm.
bridges? He ran one of those machines when he was working. He had a 50,000 pound pipe fall on his leg, crush it, and he lost his leg right above the
Hmm.
knee. Guess what he does today with a prosthetic leg? He still runs that machine.
Yeah.
So I'm not understanding why an amputation makes you
I
unfit.
don't know. I really just felt like they just was trying to find any grounds because they really didn't have any. They really wanted the foster parent to have custody of my kids.
So you said your oldest was taken at 4 years old, and then your baby was taken
At
at
birth.
birth.
Mm-hmm.
And it took how long for you to get the children back?
4 years. A little, and
Four
even
years.
when I got them
And what
back,
exact?
DHR was still coming to my house doing check home visits. Even when my case was closed, they were still coming. But I mean,
And how long did
about
that
six
last?
months.
Okay, so um, when your case is
Mm-hmm.
closed, DHR CPS has no right to knock on your door again unless they have another case to open.
I never had it. They just said
They're
they
asking
called it
you
a
to do that.
wellness check. Is what they called it.
Yeah, they call it. Yeah, they do a 6 month follow up case
Hmm.
follow up. The reason they do that is because they're trying to catch you in a situation to reopen your case to have another
Right.
complaint against you.
And at that time, I felt
Because
like they were trying to
CPS,
see if my
they
baby.
are according to every law. So according to every state law, CPS, when a call is made to them and a complaint is made, number one, it can be made anonymously. But number two, it doesn't matter what the call is, they are supposed to respond to it. They're supposed to check it out. And unless they have already investigated a call of that particular with that accusation. So what they do is for that 6 months after you've gotten your child back, they continue to try to follow up with you because what they're going to do is one of the caseworkers is going to make an anonymous call to try to get your child back. You do not have to let them back in. Once your court case is closed, you can tell them to kick rocks. Now, let me ask you, what exactly did you do to get the kids home?
I had to pay a lawyer or outside of the insurer. I didn't get a court appointed lawyer or anything because I just felt like my court appointed attorney was working with the HR. Like she was like, just do it, just do this, just do that. Hey, like, and I just felt like, no, that's not what. So I literally had to wait and save up and pay for a hired attorney that really knew the law and was really for me and not for DHR. So that's what I really did.
So can I ask you who the attorney was that you hired to that actually helped you get your children home?
Lance Wilkerson, who handled cases. So he all from
Lance
all
Wilson.
over Alabama. For all over the state of Alabama, he fights for us, these parents, to get their kids back that was wrongfully taken.
Okay.
He costs a pretty
Now,
penny, but he will work with you.
so when we were talking earlier, you were telling me about the relationship that your caseworker had with the foster parents. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, so my social worker were, I call them best friends because every time you look on their Facebook, they're hanging out together at Christmas parties, family gatherings and stuff. But anyway, they really was really close. She was trying so hard for the foster parents to adopt my boys. She was saying, Miss Davis, this is a lot you're going through. Like you're stressed out. They are so in love with the foster mom. They even call her mom, like she was really trying to get me to sign over my rights to these foster parents. So I had a friend who worked at the Shari. She was telling me your social worker would get a bonus if your children are adopted to these foster parents. And that's how I found out. I presented all of it to court, took pictures of it on Facebook that my social worker is hanging out with the foster parents.
Uh-oh. There we go. Okay, you're back. So you said that you know somebody that worked for CPS and they told you that the caseworkers get a bonus. Can you hear me, Tiffany? I don't think she can hear me. Tiffany, can you hear me? All right, let's see if I can message real quick and see if we can figure out what's going on here. Uh, there we are. Can you hear me now? I can hear you.
You can hear me?
There we go. I can hear you now. I can hear you. Can you hear me? Okay, we're gonna try this one more time. We are gonna try this one more time. So, Tiffany and I spoke earlier, and she told me
Can you
that
hear me?
there we go. Can you hear me now, Tiffany? I can hear you. Can you hear me? Okay, I don't think she can hear me again. All right. So Tiffany actually was telling me that can you hear me, Tiffany?
I can.
There we go. All right. Okay. So we were talking about. You said that you have a friend that works for CPS, and they told you that the caseworker gets a bonus.
Yes, they said for each child that a foster parent adopts, that the social worker will get a bonus. I didn't know how true it was until I did my investigation on it. Different.
So, did they tell you how much of a bonus that the social worker
Five
gets
thousand. 5,000
per child?
per child. Mm-hmm.
$5,000
So,
per child.
mm-hmm. And I had two, so she would have been getting 10,000. And it made sense that that's why every time I came to court, my own social worker was telling the judge what I need to do instead of the.
Uh-oh, we've lost you again, Tiffany. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Tiffany? Can you hear me? I think we have an issue again. All right. Can you hear me? Okay, I think we're gonna have to try this again. I think she may be getting a phone call. We'll have to ask her to put her phone on do not disturb. That's generally what happens with this. So, guys, you heard it. $5,000 per child that is
Mm-hmm.
adopted. Tiffany,
I
can you hear me
can.
now? Are you getting a phone call? Is that why you
I
keep getting
think
knocked
that's what it
off?
is. Every time I decline it, it knocks. Sorry.
Okay, so if you'll put your phone on do not disturb, that'll
Oh,
keep that
okay.
from
Let me do
happening.
that then.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So, $5,000 per child. That's incredible. It's not not surprising, but it's really incredible. So tell me about what you did during this period of time that you didn't have your kids to keep from losing your mind.
Visitation was one of the most things that I did not play with because I had visitation once a week, and visitation was where like I just gave it, because I that was my moment with my babies. Even though the first year was supervised, I had to have someone in there with me, and then they finally gave me unsupervised visits. But visitation is what's really kept me sane because I'm like, listen, if I do anything or I spaz out or snap, I'm not gonna be able to see my babies this week. So that kept me sane.
Somebody's just itching to talk to you tonight, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Okay, my phone on do not disturb.
Can you hear me, Tiffany? Tiffany, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Tiffany? Can you hear like Tiffany? Can you hear me?
I
Can you hear
can.
me?
I just had to put my phone on do not disturb. I don't
Okay,
know. I thought I did the first time.
that's okay. That's okay. So, you were saying that that going to visitation was one of the things that kept you
Yes.
sane. So you got to see your kids once a
once a
week.
week. Mhm.
What did you do during the rest of that time to keep you from losing your mind?
Um, I work to occupy my time. I pick up extra shifts. I would just work just to get my mind because I know if I came home, I was lonely. They made me leave, tell my man to leave, so I kicked him out and didn't have my kids. So I was really kind of in an oppressed state of mind. But to just keep me focused, I would just pick up shifts at work and just work extra hours and stuff.
So if you had any advice for parents dealing with DHR or CPS, what would you say?
Honestly, I would tell you, and it might be so hard, and y'all might not think y'all can do this, but get a paid attorney. I had
All right, so we're
some of the
having
things
another
that I will
issue
really,
here.
really enforce that you all just get a paid attorney.
Paid attorney, okay. So you hear a lot of people that tell you cooperate, just cooperate, just cooperate. What do you think about that advice? Oh, I guess she couldn't hear me. Clicked off again. We'll give her just a second to reload. I got a couple of questions that we've got coming in. Can you hear me now,
I can.
Tiffany? Okay. So, when somebody tells you or you hear somebody tell another parent that's going through this to just cooperate with CPS, what do you tell them? What do you say?
I mean, you do need to cooperate just so you can have your visits and just so that it can look good when you go to court. So I wouldn't tell you not to cooperate with them because if you don't, it will make it seem like you're not trying to fight. I will say cooperate. Do what you can do. I mean, if you think it's fair. I'm not gonna say don't do anything that you just feel in your heart that's not right. But they say parent them, they say classes, they say drug tests, whatever. Prove them wrong and do it. So when you go to court, they don't have anything, so they have to make up stuff or add stuff. But the judge will see like, hey, she's doing everything y'all asked her to do. So now what? So every time I went to court, the judge would say, "So what's hindering Miss Davis now?" He would just get frustrated. He would say, "So what's now? What's now?" And it was always my social worker. She just had anger issues. She just snapped and blew off. We feel like she might not be ready for her baby. Like it was always something. So just do what they tell you to do, whether you feel like it or not. Do it. Do it. So when your attorney fights for you, your attorney have something to fight for and be like, no, my client did this, this, and this, everything they asked for. So that's just my opinion.
So you said that your mother. I'm gonna go back just a little bit because we got a couple of questions that have come in. Your mother she was a active teacher
She
or
taught.
retired
She was
teacher?
a retired teacher at the time of my case. She taught for 27 years at Jefferson County Board of Education. She taught first grade. And then she was when she retired, that's when my case started. So she was trying to fight for him then.
So how long retired was she when your case started?
My mom was retired about 4 years. Just about 4 years.
About 4 years. So the Jefferson County Board of Education, when she was working for the Jefferson County Board of Education,
Hmm.
was she on the blood pressure medication and did she have diabetes at the time? Can you hear me? Let's see if we can try that one more time. Hopefully we can stay on for the rest of the show here. There we go. Can you hear
I
me now,
can.
Tiffany? Okay. So when your mother was a school teacher, was she on blood pressure medication and did she have diabetes at the
Yeah,
time?
my mom had been had diabetes for years. Years. My dad's
So
leg was
the
amputated
Jefferson
for
County Board of
years.
Education, and what did your dad do after he left the Navy
He was a
or the
security
military?
guard for the Social Security building. He was just at the gate at the Social Security building.
Okay, so your mother with diabetes and high blood pressure was approved by the Jefferson County Board of Education to care for 20 some odd kids that were not hers for 7 hours a day, 5 days a week,
Hmm.
but she wasn't fit enough to care for one baby.
For two babies. No.
And your dad was fit enough to protect the employees of the Social Security Administration, but he wasn't fit enough to care for a baby?
According to DHR.
Interesting, interesting. So let me ask you this. You said that you had visitation once a week.
Hmm.
Were you ever able to participate with your children's schools, medical appointments, any of that?
No, the foster parents was against it. When my son graduated from kindergarten, I really wanted to go, but she was against it. I went, but the board of the school told me that I couldn't come in. She made sure that she let them
So
know.
so there was no order by a judge that you couldn't have contact with your
No,
children, you couldn't go to their events and their activities. The
that was
foster
just what she
parent
wanted.
was the one that arbitrarily made this decision. So, for any of you parents that have this same situation going on where the foster parents are telling the doctor's offices or the schools that you're not allowed to have anything to do with your
No,
kids, in a situation where the fosters are making this arbitrary decision and not allowing you to come to school events or doctor's offices absent a court order, what you need to do is you need to take a copy of your court order to the Board of Education, and you need to take a copy of the order to the doctor's office, to the head of the office. You need to make sure that they both see it, and you need to let them know there is no court order that keeps you from being able to see your kids. And if they deny you from being able to participate in these activities, you will bring legal action against them. You are legally allowed to be able to participate in those things, and the foster parent cannot stop you. They cannot stop you. So tell me again, what county did you say your case was in?
so my case started in Shelby County, and it got transferred to Jefferson County. But I went through pure craziness to get it transferred. But yeah, it was started off in Shelby County.
Why was it transferred?
I wanted to transfer it. I didn't get it. Shelby County is so slow. They have one judge, and he has all these surrounding cities that he has to take care of. So every time my court date would be like every 8 to 9 months. Just it was just slow.
Mhm.
And then I stayed in Birmingham. I would have to drive all the way to Columbiana just for visitation, which is like an hour and 15 minutes for visitation. It was just a hassle on me too. So with my work schedule and all that stuff, if you 5 minutes late, they cancel your visit. So it was just a lot. So I had to get it transferred to Jefferson.
So Judge Kramer was your judge?
Yes.
And did Judge Kramer ever allow you to go into the courtroom?
I went in the courtroom once, just one time.
How many hearings? How many hearings did you have that you were denied the ability to go in front of him,
Woo,
and you were told only your attorney could go?
I can't even count. It's so many. I'll just say so many because I will always ask, can I go in? Because I wanted to know what y'all saying. They would not allow me to go in.
Hmm.
But when I went to
So
Jefferson
this is
County,
also illegal.
and when got it transferred to Jefferson County,
Yeah.
I was inside every court hearing. I was inside knowing what everybody's saying. So I don't know why Shelby County was like that.
Yeah, Judge Kramer has done that to every single parent. My case started out in Shelby County as well. And even after I filed letting him know that I would be representing myself, he was still denying me access to the courtroom. That is a violation of due process rights as per the Constitution of the United States. This is illegal. If this happens to you, you need to file a writ of mandamus to the appeals court of your state, letting them know that the judge is denying you access to the courtroom. This is illegal. And you will ask the court to order the judge to let you be present for all the hearings. Now, who was your judge in Jefferson County when you had to transfer to Jefferson County?
Um, what's that lady name? Miss Angela. I had Angela Reese. Really sweet judge. Really
Okay.
fair.
Okay.
A very fair judge.
Okay. Was she in the Bessemer division
Bessemer
or
Division.
Maine?
Bessemer Division.
Bessemer division. Okay. Okay. So I'm looking at some of the questions that that one of our viewers has. Amy Walmsley is one of the admins on the Facebook page that I started, and she had a couple of questions for you. That's where I was asking some of those questions. So how long have you had your children back?
Um, I had them back going on 6 years. They'll be going on 6 years.
Going on 6 years now.
Hmm.
Okay. Um, so are you aware that you do have the right to sue DHR?
I have my attorney that represented me to get them back. He told me about it. It's a lot of strings I have to go and cost some money to do, but I want to do it. I really do.
It does cost a little bit of money. It does cost a little bit of money to do, but if you're interested, I have a federal attorney that I work with. I can send you his information. You can give him a call.
I definitely do.
He right now he has a federal lawsuit against a judge in Conecuh County for conspiracy to kidnap, as well as a litany of other charges against the judge, the DHR workers, the foster parents, the DHR attorneys, the guardian ad litem. He's got about 12 or so defendants on this conspiracy case.
Oh wow. I definitely need to jump aboard.
He,
Because the foster
yes.
parent
So
still tries to reach out to my oldest. She popped up to one of his games, his football games last year. She popped up there, her and her husband. Like she's still trying to interact and ask him questions like how's it living with your mom? How is she and all that stuff, whatever. So like I still have to go through stuff with the foster parent.
you know that you can get a restraining
So
order
I got a
against him.
restraining order to the school because she came up to the school before in one of his awards program. So I got a restraining order from the school, but she literally just pops up at the churches. Because we go to Church of Highlands, she'll pop up and she'll try to pull him to the side and just sneak and ask him questions and stuff. She found him on Facebook.
I would go I would go down to the Shelby County Courthouse as well as the Jefferson County Courthouse and file in both counties. File for a restraining order, a harassment restraining order. And I would also file a civil lawsuit against her for harassing communications, stalking as well. And if you want me to help you with that paperwork, I can help you with that. Just
I
message
do.
me and I'll help you with
Okay.
it. Yes, a cease and desist actually can be done against as well. That's something that we use quite frequently in getting CPS to leave parents alone. But in this particular situation, it also would be valid to be able to use against the fosters to let them know if they don't stop, you're going to sue the shit out of them. So, well, Tiffany, we're almost to the end. Is there anything else that you would like to add about your case? Any advice for parents or
I just say don't give up because they want you to. They're gonna try to do so much stuff so you could just be like, just forget it. Do not give up. You just gotta fight them, and it's a long process. And I hate that the process is so long because you have to reunite with your kids and get that bonding back. But it's worth it. You just gotta fight because they really thought that I was just gonna throw in the towel and just give up. But you just gotta stay in it. It's a hard battle. Cried many nights, but you have got to stay strong. You got to keep fighting because those kids go through so much in foster care. So much. Like my son he still go through counseling now, my oldest one, for just the stuff that he went through in foster care. So
mm. All right, well, Tiffany, thank you very much for coming on the show tonight. I appreciate it. And you take care of them babies, keep loving on them, and message me in a little bit and I'll get you that information and we'll see what we can do to get those foster parents out of your hair and
thank you.
get you with an attorney that can sue the shit out of DHR.
Yes. All right. Thanks, Kim.
Love you too. Wow, guys, that's I, I've talked to Tiffany many times, and I've heard her story several times. But a couple of those things are actually things that I didn't even know. Especially the specific amount that the workers themselves get when a child is adopted. I was not aware that. I mean, I knew that CPS gets $50,000 per child when they're adopted, but I was not aware that the caseworker actually gets that amount of money each time that the child is adopted out. Need to take a look at that on the state checkbook. Each state has a checkbook. You can look on it, go into your just Google your state checkbook, and on that state checkbook, because the state pays CPS, they are required to post everything that they pay to their employees, to vendors, to whomever, service providers, what have you. So there should be some record of these caseworkers getting these $50,000 payments. So I would suggest, if you've got an open CPS case now, that you go into your state checkbook and you see if you can find your caseworker's name and find any of these $5,000 payments to them. See if you can find some of that. Get that to your attorney, especially if you have a hired attorney. Get that to that attorney so that they can use that to be able to show the judge that there's a reason they're doing this, and it's not because there's something wrong with you as a parent, but it's because their pocketbook is empty. So the other thing is, if you're able to come across this, jump on here, send me a link, send me a picture of this. Let's see this. Let's see how many states that we can actually get this proof that these caseworkers are receiving these $5,000 payments. Because if we can get that proof, we have people in the legislature that is willing to talk to us, in the federal government that's willing to talk to us. And we can also get you with a advocate in your state that is very vocal and communicates with the legislator, and they can show the legislator where these caseworkers are getting these $5,000 payments, so that we can actually prove to these people that make the laws in our states that this is a for-profit business. Paul Lee in Alabama legislator, he's a Democrat in Alabama. In 2019, he presented a bill that allows for a judge to terminate a parent's rights based only on the relationship of the child to the fosters. The judge does not have to consider anything that the parent has done to get their child back, does not have to consider the bond that the parent has with the child, any of those things. He only can consider the forced bond of the child to the foster parents. So I went to Montgomery and tried to speak to Paul Lee, and I told him what was going on with DHR in Alabama, with CPS in Alabama, and I told him about all the other states. I told him about the right to lie case where in the Ninth Circuit, California asked the United States Supreme Court to give them permission to lie about parents in order to terminate their rights. I told Paul about all these things, and this man looked at me and said, just because it happens everywhere else doesn't mean it happens in Alabama. So that's the kind of dumbasses that we've elected to make laws for our states. So you're going to have to go in and actually show concrete proof. So if you go in and look up your checkbook and you can find this, go to your legislators and show them this. Pull up Title IV-E funding, pull up Title IV-D funding, pull up the state checkbook, and show where these caseworkers are getting these bonuses. Prove to them that this is a for-profit child trafficking business. Record your interaction with them, video record if you can, and put it all over Facebook. Put it all over YouTube, Instagram, and any other social media you can find, and ask, why is it that my legislator is being shown proof of this and they're still denying it happening? Let them answer that question to their constituents. All right, guys. So last couple of minutes of every show, we talk about what to do, how to handle the psychological ramifications of what CPS does to you. Having your children removed from you is a hugely traumatic experience. It causes PTSD. It can cause anxiety, depression. It can cause parents to contemplate suicide. Many of you know that my best friend took his own life in October of 23 because CPS took his children. CPS's reason for taking his children is because a man can't be a single father to 5 girls. His wife, 3 years prior, had taken her own life. And CPS said he had no business being a single father, and they tried to take his kids from him. We were able to successfully keep them from taking the kids immediately after his wife killed herself, but they came after him again 3 years later, and it became too much for him. And 2 days before his birthday, he put a gun to his head. I was on the phone with him just minutes before he did this, and it was extremely not minutes, just moments. I think we had hung up the phone about 60 seconds before he took his life. He had been charged with custodial interference, a felony charge in the state of Alabama, because he moved out of state with his children. CPS had not filed for custody of his children. They had not pursued a case in court against him. At 2 weeks after he took his children out of the state, they filed for custody of his children, and they went to the this was Talladega County CPS. They went to the Talladega County Sheriff's Department and told the Talladega County Sheriff's Department that they had physical possession of his children, that he came to a visit and he took his children from the visit. CPS never had physical possession of his children. They went in on a Tuesday. This was right after Veterans Day, 2022. They filed a petition to have custody of his kids. The timestamp of the judge's decision to give CPS custody of his children was 8 minutes later. How in this judge's order, the judge says that CPS presented evidence and he considered such and decided that it was in the best interest of the children for CPS to have these children. This judge later voluntarily stepped down from the bench because he was doing cocaine while he was on the bench, while he was actively working. There was actually a video that was found that this judge was snorting cocaine off of the breasts of a 14-year-old. Yet this man issued a warrant for Christopher Buchanan's arrest, saying that he had taken his children away from CPS who never had them. Christopher spent almost 7 months in jail and was not allowed to communicate with his children for any reason, even though there was no accusations at all of abuse or neglect for his kids. Except for one. There was one accusation. CPS said that he was not providing his children with food. That wasn't true. He had plenty of food in the house. It wasn't as much as he should have had, but he qualified for food stamps. After his wife passed away and CPS tried to take the children, they put into the system that he had lost custody of his kids. So when he applied for food stamps later on, CPS said, the food stamp division said that they needed proof that he had regained custody of his children. Since he had never lost custody of his children, he couldn't provide proof that he had regained custody of his children. So the food stamps that he qualified for and paid into the system of for years, he was a business owner. He was a business owner making $100,000 a year profit. He paid into the food stamp system. After his wife passed away, he was not able to continue with his business and he qualified for food stamps. But because CPS was mad that they weren't able to take his children, they went in and put it in the food stamp system that he had lost custody of his kids. So for the next 3 years, he struggled to feed his kids. He was not able to provide his kids with the nutritious meals that he wanted to provide them with. He had to provide them with Dollar Tree meals. But they always had food. They always had food. That house was never without food. But that was the one thing that CPS said, is that his children did not have food to eat. This accusation came because his kids were outside playing, and one of them said that they were hungry. And they all went inside to get something to eat. A neighbor apparently heard the kids say, "I'm hungry," and said that that was enough to call CPS. CPS said he had no business caring for 5 children by himself. Unfortunately, nobody has been charged with Christopher's death. His parents have decided that they're going to let God handle the retribution on this. So no, nothing has happened. And now 5 beautiful little girls don't have their mother or father. And they don't have their grandparents, which their grandparents are a school teacher and a pastor and his dad, Christopher's dad, is a pastor. He drives a school bus, and he also is very active in local politics. But apparently his parents weren't good enough for CPS to allow them to have his kids either. But guys, Chris didn't have to kill himself, but he couldn't deal with it anymore. One of the things was, though, he wouldn't talk. He wouldn't talk to anybody. He would not talk to anybody. He would put himself in situations where he would be up for 3-4 days at a time. He was exercising constantly because he was trying to kill himself without actually pulling the trigger of a gun. I had to clean up the mess that was left by Chris. I don't want to do that again. Not for anybody. I don't want to see anybody else have to clean up one of your guys' blood. Nobody should have to pick pieces of your brain matter out of the ceiling tiles. Nobody should have to tell your children that you were wronged. You should be the one to do that. If you ever feel like you can't go on, message me. You can find me on Facebook, Kim Page. You can find Vinny or Darren or any of our other hosts on Facebook. Call a friend. Call somebody. Please, I beg of you, do not take your own life. Find something that you can do to keep your mind off of what's going on. Just don't take your life. And with that, guys, it is time for me to say goodnight. Until next time, you've watched Turn the Page with Kim Page. Have a good evening.
Imagine being a child who has been torn away from their security blanket, their parents, the ones who stopped the boogeyman from terrorizing the nights and curing their boo-boos when they scraped their knees. Now just imagine how they mightest feel when the CPS meant to protect them tears them away from their supposed abusers and places them with strangers who have zero comforting skills. They need to be calm. They are confused, lost, panicked, and needing their parents, but CPS took them away for the purpose of saving them. The kids don't even know why, and they are told that the parents they attach to no longer want them. What do you think that does? Do you think that this is how protecting children is supposed to look?